Alright, I think the rear axle nightmare with this thing is over, finally. I went to the junkyard and rust stopped me dead on both of those ZR2 axles. They were bad. I brought electric impacts and a Sawzall, but they won't let you bring a grinder in, and that's really what I would have needed to make that work. Plus, it was 95 degrees out that day and frickin' miserable. Probably was a sweet truck. Had the old Manuel. Every one of these is so rounded, I can't even get a 12mm work on a 13mm bolt. So I'll piss on it, I guess. You win some, you lose some. Went to the junkyard today, and all I got was a rear sway bar, because the two ZR2 rear axles that I came here for were so friggin' rotten, and I could not get them out of there. If I had them back at my own shop, maybe. That's why I was here today. 55 bucks for a ZR2 rear axle sounded good, but they still have to not be junk. Okay, I lied. We are driving it in August, but a little cruise in.
You ain't go up the hill.
Well, the trash made it home, didn't get ticketed. I would call that a win. I found out it does this fun hop thing too, where if you hit the throttle just right, it's all over the place. I thought it was great, but the wifey was not nearly as impressed as I was. Maybe some of that pond water did get in there. That's not looking promising to use this for the Street Blazer. Okay, this whole thing has been a bit of a nightmare. Surprise, surprise. I took the really bad axle out of the Street Blazer, putting it in the Z69 here, because whatever. Taking the rusty diff cover. This is the junky diff cover that came with the Street Blazer that I'm putting a fill port in now, because the fill port on this axle is not coming apart. And I forgot that was half the reason I took the good diff cover. I bought a new diff cover for that when it was rusty, plus this had the fill here. But I'm going to put the good diff cover on the good Blazer, and I doubled up the magnets here, so this has got the magnet out of the old rusty diff cover as long as the other magnet, because there's probably still some junk in here. But I got thinking, I'm probably not going to put enough miles on that for it to really be a big deal. Is that axle going to die prematurely because of all the grit that's still in there somewhere from that axle coming apart? Sure. Am I going to put enough miles on it to really be a problem? I don't think so. So we're going to send it. I did want to make sure, though, that I took this axle out, because if that axle shaft snaps in half, the wheel can exit the vehicle. And on the Street Blazer, I do not want that to happen. On the Z69 here, it's just more adventures. Won't be going fast enough to kill me, and you know, it'll be some action for the next episode of I was gonna say Roadkill, Gearhead Design. I knew doing the whole axle housing would have been a good idea. Look at these brakes. That is marks from the rotor when that bearing was bad. I'm gonna have to throw them on too. All right, switching gears from sketchy Blazer to certified garbage here. I gotta put that trash axle in the trash Blazer. Oh, that's a lot of pond scum. Here's my seal removal tool here. Well, that seal's already garbage. That's probably why it was all mud in there. There we go. Feel like I just did this recently on a Blazer. This is that axle saver bearing I put in the other Blazer that already, I don't know if you'll be able to see in the video there, already had some trashy looking stuff in there. Alright, the mini spool here has not been kind to this diff, and I actually had to whale in the C-clip with this extension and a hammer. I wouldn't normally recommend a BFH for diff work, and I wouldn't be surprised if this thing never is able to be disassembled again. I had to pound the pin in too, the cross pin. Had to whale that pretty good to get it in there. Actually, see where I mushroomed it a little bit. But I think it will work for the Gambler. Gonna be good enough. Nice fresh gear oil to those axle bearings. Doing 100 in a Blazer. Alright, put this garbage on the lift. See how much work it's going to need before I can trust it. I saw I had a leak, which is a brake line up here, which makes sense because when I was working on this rear axle, I broke this line and it was pretty much dry. So that makes sense. But I also saw I got some wetness up here, so that's a cob job repair that looks worse than my Gambler repair on the other Blazer. So I'm gonna have brake lines and fuel lines on this thing. Kind of crusty everywhere, but this is a million times better than my other Blazer there. Going through WD-40 and all the stuff I may have to take apart at some point. And hey, look at that. I found my ABS light on the dash. And this is the cast iron front diff. So my other one has this too. Apparently they only came in the 5-speed Blazers. Everything else got a cast aluminum front diff. And these are a little stronger for off-road and all that kind of stuff. Well, that little hole there, where my exhaust leak's coming from. I did see too, somebody cut this catalytic converter apart at some point. I wonder if there's anything in there or not. My guess would be no. I also had an O2 sensor code. Maybe this is why. That was over here. That a little bit of carbon in there. That might be an exhaust leak too. I tried to fill this up. It kept clicking off. That is the tiny little line going into the tank here. I don't see a vent line either. That's a weird deal.